Don't forget to like and sub to my channel. Press that notification bell so you can be notified on further updates and upcoming trials, the lost, the found. And Suzanne Morphew, there's a little bit more update on this. Now, in my other video, I talked about the case and found things a little odd, but the thing about the neighbor, she called the neighbor, and if I'm not back in an hour, that kind of story was out there, but doesn't seem to be true, and there's more facts on that now. As we know, things get mixed up, confused, and so that's where that goes. So apparently the neighbor did call 911 only after her daughter had called her and said that she could not get a hold of her mother. Please, could you go over there and check? So apparently she must have checked. No sign of anybody. I guess she checked before she called the police. That's my guess. They didn't really say in which order, but she did call the police, and it was getting late in the evening. This was around 5:30, 6 o'clock, and so the police were called, and so that's where that ends. Because I can understand is, their homes are in a rural area, way off the road. They have their own driveways, surrounded by trees. And I was just like, how did she see her? How would she see her? But that wasn't the case. And it turns out that this lady is like 70 years old. And I guess she's like a stepmother, motherly person. I guess they've got to know their neighbor real good, and which is nice. Always nice to get to know your neighbors, especially living out in that area. Not saying it's a bad area, but it's rural. I mean, it's darkness. You better have some protection. You better know how to use your gun, have a nice dog, and have alarms and cameras all around. Because that's just how we live these days. You can't trust nobody. But another update is her bike. The story about the bike. Well, that don't seem to be true and cannot be confirmed. Especially on Mother's Day. Because apparently she hasn't been heard or been able to be contacted in a few days. And maybe this is why the police want surveillance footage, door cams, any kind of cams, anybody driving by, any witnesses, to look through their videos, their door cams, any kind of devices they have, no matter how small, no matter how silly it looks, like this can't be nothing, this ain't nothing, it doesn't matter. It can also be used for a piece of the puzzle. And that little bit, a tiny little bit of information, might be all they need. So please report whatever you got. Save it from the 8th of May and onwards. The other thing is, there has been a person arrested that happened to be working either in the next house or somewhere along that road, and he is a construction worker. And this is what they're saying, is that he is not a citizen and he has a criminal record. And the criminal record that he has got is battery and attempted kidnapping and things like that. Now, we don't know who he kidnapped, who he battered, who he beat up. It could have been a girlfriend, an ex-wife, could have been a domestic, it could have been a one-off. We don't know what race he is. It just says he's not a citizen. That doesn't mean he's illegal, because obviously he's not illegal, because he's got a criminal background. But plus, if he was illegal at the time, they would have done something about it, I'm sure. They just say he's not a citizen. So he has been arrested. Maybe they were looking for him on those charges and couldn't find him, didn't know where he was. But because Suzanne is missing, they like to know who was in the area. Do you have any workers? The gardener, the landscaper, the the garbage guys, you name it. They were looking at everybody that came around that neighborhood, no matter what you were doing. The visitors, anybody having anything done to their house, the snow plows, if there was snow at that time, like the grass cutters. They were looking into everybody, and they must have found out about this guy, and he may have had a warrant out for his arrest. And that's how that he became arrested. And it's not related to Suzanne at this time. So it's not related. The arrest is not related. But who knows down the line? Who knows down the line? But because you attempted to kidnap a person and battery doesn't mean that you're going to do it to everybody you see. So we'll have to see how that one pans out. That's just a little update. Now, the other update is, remember when this was before this happened, the husband or somebody, no, it was the nephew, I think, Trevor, said this, that, family members are coming from out of town and they needed somewhere to stay. And so Barry said that they are staying at his house and he is staying at, I'm not sure if he said his mother's house or a relative's house. So, and then this other news came later on where there's nobody at the house because this is being treated as a crime scene. Well, crime scene FBI are at the house. searching and taking things away. That means everything. Phones, computers, maybe cars, maybe bikes. Anything that they feel they need to analyze. So that's what they're doing. So at first, when the nephew said, and we all thought it was the nephew of Suzanne, but it's not the nephew of Suzanne, it's her husband Barry's nephew. Well, it is her nephew, but it's not directly from her sister or brother. So, but he sounded like he was, his mother or somebody was her sister or something. That's kind of how it sounded at first, just the way he was talking. And he was very, 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 very concerned. And maybe he was speaking on behalf of Barry also. Because Barry said it was too soon to make any statement or talk to anybody, but that didn't make sense. Now, what are you waiting for? That's what I said. That a lot of people are saying, well, if that comment is true, if the comment that they say Barry said this was true, no, when somebody's missing, the time is to act now, not wait for another week. Not wait. You have to get right on it right now. So anyway, we don't even know if that comment was true, but it was out there. But as we know, the husband did make a very, very short video, like 25 seconds long. It was not with the press, where the press can, ask you questions and look at your face in real time, not in a video that could have been taken 1,000 times, rehearsed. But when we noticed about the video was of him nodding his head, not nodding it, but shaking it no, shaking it no. Now, you can take that either way. When people normally are talking, they don't really shake their head no, really shake their head no, like he was doing. They might move their head a little bit, tilt it to the side, and when they say yes or something, they go yes at the same time. But his head was saying no when he was trying to tell us that he misses her, loves her, and wants her back so bad. That was the odd part. Your head would be saying, yes, I miss you. It would be going up and down. But we really don't know him that well, so, what's his personality, how he acts, or anything like that. But it's just odd. Now, they obviously rehearsed that video. It was set in a certain background, and it was very short. And he was just on about his kids. They need you. They need you. And another thing that comes to mind, it doesn't mean he's guilty. It's just, this is what happens when you put out statements and make a plea for somebody very, very close to you, and you are the husband. Like the Chris Watts, I need you back so bad. Oh, so bad. It's like a ghost town. I need you back right now. It's so bad. And we kind of was believing Chris Watts at the time, because we didn't really know him. Is that how he is? But things weren't adding up when Chris Watts started talking. They just wouldn't, it was what he was saying wasn't adding up. Like, I come home, and he was allowed to come home and stay in that house. It wasn't considered a crime scene, yet people just vanished out of that house. And how did they get out the house with no vehicle? And they obviously don't have strollers, and the car seats are in the car, and the phone is in the house. Everything else that she would need was in the house, but yet nothing really was disturbed. So what was the reason? And it seems like, well, you know, her friend said the front door is locked from the inside, which is not normal, because apparently, I guess, maybe she comes and opens it first thing in the morning, unlocks it. I don't know, but if you're coming in and out, you use your garage, you go through that door. Why go through the front door? So keep it locked, right? But she was just pointing these things out. That was the point. And of course she was, if anybody came to the door, that they're on the door cam, you know. So there's another, she pointed that out, you know, it's a door cam. And so we go on to you know, what he's saying. But Chris Watts said it was like a ghost town. It's a ghost town. Well, you don't say those things. A ghost town? The only reason it would be a ghost town is they're dead. You know, if somebody's dead, that it would be a ghost town. So that, you know, little things like that is what they say. That's odd to a lot of people, and which it turned out to be true. It was a ghost town. There probably was ghosts in there, because we know. Not long after. So he makes this short, very short video, but really didn't say a lot. He didn't say a lot, except, well, we know what he said. I'll put it in the video just to remind you. You know, if anyone is out there listening and can hear me, I'll do anything it takes. No questions asked. I'll do anything it takes. I'll pay anything. We just need her back. I want her back. I need her back. Like a panic mode, which he is, but it could be taken the other way, like you're regretting what happened. But maybe he is regretting what happened, because he went on a firefighting training course in a COVID virus pandemic, and the kids were gone camping for a couple of days, and maybe he really is regretting it and feeling guilty. So that could be from that. And then he said, the kids, we need you, the kids need you, the kids need you. I need you back. And then he mutters something at the end, which wasn't very clear. I don't know, but his voice got real low, like, I don't even know what he said, but it was probably nothing different to what he just finished saying. And then, of course, they said the $200,000 reward, no questions asked. Now, it's not just him saying no questions asked. Actually, it was not him that said it in the first place. It's his nephew that said about Barry has put up $100,000. No questions asked. but a very close friend to the family has matched it. Another 100,000. That makes 200,000. No questions asked. But you know, no questions asked. You can't just come and get a reward because the family say no questions asked. And maybe I don't think they should have put that in there. Because there is absolutely going to be questions asked. And plus, in the meanwhile, there has been no ransom note. But we don't know that because this case has been sealed. This case has been sealed. So we don't know if there's any ransom note whatsoever. I like to know about... Okay, at first we mentioned, why didn't she take her phone with her? Who don't take their phone with them when they go out and about in the woods? Anything can happen. I mean, you could fall off your bike and break your leg. Or break your arm. Anything can happen. It doesn't... If you fall wrong, you can break stuff easy. Or you just got attacked by a wild animal and you can at least call somebody. Or just for security. I know a phone ain't gonna do much, but it's something. It's something. But her phone wasn't with her, so they say. The phone was in the home. So that made me feel like maybe she didn't go on a bike ride, really. And then we're saying that her bike could have been put there by anybody, or the husband, you know, and staged. You know, all kinds of things come in our head. And then what threw us off was, you know, I guess it was a rumor now, that she went for a bike ride and they said be back an hour and stuff. That's what kind of thrown it out there, that confused stuff. So now that's not really true. How did her bike really get there? Now, I don't think I'm not sure how her house was found, whether the door was broken, but they're saying the alarm was disarmed, or it hasn't been working for days, or it was being fixed, or there's other excuses. So we don't even know if the alarms were working or not. When were they working last? And who was around? Could somebody had disarmed their security days ago and then lay waiting for the right moment? Do they know the person that came to disarm their security and was fixing it? Well, I don't know where that stands, but there's something odd about the security. So the security could be working and it might not be. So I'm not sure 100% on that, where that rumor is, or if it's true or fact. Now they're saying like the bike was staged because, like I said in my video, who kidnaps somebody off a bike and, you know, busy kidnapping them, and then suddenly puts the bike, you know, at the side, all nice, by a tree, or wherever it was. They say it was by a bridge, nicely. And I thought, hell no, you want to get it out of the way and you just throw it down the curb, you know, down the hill. Get it off the road. You wouldn't, walk it over nicely and stand it up by a tree? So that was kind of odd to me that somebody would do that, unless, she was on her bike and she stopped and she put her bike by the tree because she was enjoying the view. She just stretching her legs, or she was talking to somebody. Somebody stopped and she was having a conversation, and they say something about her brakes were locked. Now, I don't understand brakes on these mountain bikes, because I said, well, what do they mean, put the brakes on? Well, they say you have brakes on your bike so the wheels don't go round and round and round all the time. You can lock them so they don't move. And these brakes were on. So I'm thinking, well, maybe they're used for other things as well. Because when you have a mountain bike, you use brakes for certain things. Like, you don't want the wheel to go around, you just want one wheel to go around. Or I guess you can use them for different things. When it's a mountain bike, you need to have your brakes controlled. It's like having some gears or something, I don't know. But anyway, I'm just thinking that's what they could be used for. So, and then the nephew, Trevor Noah, did say that her bike was found Sunday evening, and now they're saying that the neighbor found it. I don't know who found it, but somebody found the bike. Now, this bike was not very far from her home. But yet, there's more updates about evidence found that they say they think belongs to Suzanne. So we're not absolutely sure if these items are hers. Well, they're saying it must have been the bike. No, it's items. And there are some flags along that road where it was found, and now they're saying it was 20 miles away that this evidence was found. 20 miles away. Like, so somebody, they kidnap you, okay, and they're driving along, and maybe Suzanne was throwing stuff out the window. Maybe she's the one that threw it out the window. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean it was the kidnappers or whoever abducted her that threw it out. It could have been Suzanne throwing it out. It was the only thing that she had and could do at that particular time. Now, they're not saying what items it was, but it was not a bike. And this was off the road and up a stony bank. So, but that was miles away. But her bike was found close to the home. Now, this might not have been as it seems. Now, this might not have ever happened on the Sunday. It could have happened on the Saturday. It could have happened on the Friday. But it all comes down to, because this case is sealed and they probably got a gag order that the family cannot talk about the case, what they know, the circumstances, the days, the time, the last time they spoke to their mother, the last time Barry spoke to his wife. But it seems like it probably never happened on the Sunday. If it didn't happen on the Sunday, if Barry went for his training on the Friday, maybe would that be the last time he saw her and spoke to her? Because he couldn't get a hold of her any other time? The kids went camping. I'm not sure what day they went, how long they'd been gone. And they tried calling but couldn't get a hold of her. And then they became really worried on Mother's Day when they could not contact their mother. Now he's not saying anything about being worried about not being able to contact his wife and talk to her. Like, he hasn't come out and said, or the kids come out and said, yeah, my dad was trying to get a hold of her, and then we were trying to get a hold of her, and then later on that day I called the neighbor. I did. The child did. Nothing about Barry calling his wife and couldn't get a hold of his wife. But I'm sure that the police do know that already. They do know that. They're looking into his phone. They have his phone and everything that belongs to him. His vehicle. They want to look in it to see if there's anything in there. They have to, eliminate. Elimination time. He was at the training in Denver, and that was 150 miles away. Don't know when he went. Was it Friday or Saturday morning? Not sure. And who's to say that her regular time to ride her bike, did she have a routine? Did somebody know her routine? Somebody watching her? Does she bike in the morning? Who would bike late afternoon anyway? Because I was like, it's still kind of winter. I mean, who would bike that late at night? It gets cooler. It gets darker. No. You're in the bushes. You're in the woods. No, I wouldn't be biking on my own anywhere. And when I say biking on my own anywhere, no, not around there. No way. You could get run over and they would take off and leave you in the middle of the road. But at least if you have 2 or 3 people riding with you. But not only that, you could be attacked by the mountain lions. And they're saying they don't come that area very often. But yeah, it's still rural. There are still a lot of mountain lions and all kinds of creatures. And so, there's another reason not to. And then being kidnapped, there's another reason not to. Not saying if you live in a busy neighborhood, you go bike riding around the block. That's different. You could do that by yourself. But even doing that by yourself, people vanish and get kidnapped. So that's a little bit about that, in my opinions, and just theories. So there's the updates, and another update is that I think the person, the very good family friend, I think he's a lawyer. And I think that might be the one that put up the 100,000. And he has obtained a criminal lawyer, defense lawyer. So, and they say, why would you do that? Well, you need to get a lawyer because you are number one suspect. As soon as you know that you are number one suspect or a person of interest, and they're going to want to question you, you lawyer up so they can't question you unless you speak with him, with his lawyer. See, that's why you lawyer up. Because now they can't get these warrants or whatever to talk to you and bring you in just willy-nilly. So that you lawyer up that way, so you are protected by your rights. If you can afford a nice lawyer, yeah, do it. But I think he's a family friend. Or his business lawyer. You know, because when you're in business, you need a good lawyer. Because people like to sue you, you know. Bad work and all kinds of stuff. You have to protect yourself when you have a business. That's for sure. Especially landscaping and stuff like that. It seems like he's done very well in his business. It all seems to be above board. And they say he's got a temper. Well, everybody's got a temper and mood swings. And people that are in business, you do something wrong, they're gonna bitch at you. You fuck a job up, they're gonna be pissed because it was money, big money lost, and the owner's always the one that's getting sued. So maybe it could have been something like that. Was it a one-off? Was it a regular thing? Like his friend, whoever worked for him or worked with him, said he threw all his tools all over the place and whatever. Well, maybe we should have the whole story before we jump the gun, because there might have been a very good reason. Yeah, maybe he shouldn't have got that pissed, but it's his business and his reputation. I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I'm just saying that it could have been something like that. Now, he doesn't seem to have a temper with his wife and the family, but yet there's nobody out there saying anything different. They seem to be a loving family. And people are trying to, you know, air their dirty laundry out, but they haven't found none yet. Now, there's another thing coming out. This is another rumor, which it probably would, that he did have a bit on the side. You know that's coming. Did he? Did he? We don't know. But that's a possibility that they may have found that out. Now, that doesn't mean anything. But what it does mean, if that was so, well, you know how these partners, you know, when you're having an affair, we know how that turns out, don't we? Yeah, get rid of the husband. Get rid of the wife. But that's just a rumor. I don't even know if it's fact yet, but it's out there. It's a possibility. It's not confirmed, but it is out there. And we know what happens, don't we, guys? We know what happens when you have an affair. That these crazy people put things in your head, or well, they don't have to put it in your head. You're the one that wants what they have. You want what their wife has. You want it. So they get possessive over that. So that's all alleged. Anyway, but that's just a theory out there. And, you know, if I don't say it, somebody else is going to say this exact same thing. But it's not fact, but it could be true. It's a rumor and a theory. So that was another update of what's out there. As we know, Trevor Noah has been talking. He, you know, when he first got on the news to get the word out, he did say, he stressed to the news anchor to look into the state of the bike, because he didn't know the state of the bike, only it had been found. And he wants to know the state of the bike. So he told him, because he knows that they can get a hold of stuff fast before it's too late, before it gets sealed. Now it's sealed. Now, nobody's saying anything about the state of the bike, only that the brakes were locked. Now, I don't know who's really said that, but the police, the sheriff department, did not confirm nothing about the bike. He didn't even confirm the bike was even found. So just put it out there. So if she never went for a bike ride that afternoon, which is confirmed now that she was not seen by the neighbor, that's not how it went down. But we don't know when she went for the bike ride. That's what I'm saying. Now, and it doesn't seem like anybody's seen her. So, people traveling along that way doesn't necessarily mean they live there, and they're not really paying much attention. This road is a long road, stretch of a road. It leads to Denver. It goes on for miles. It's a main stretch of road, you know, through the windy hills and the countryside. Many people are traveling that way. Well, I say many people. With the COVID and the pandemic, there shouldn't be that much traffic. And probably that's the problem. There's not much traffic. A car here and there. Maybe locals. But like they say, the neighbors say, nothing ever has happened like this before. Well, that doesn't mean it can't. And they just can't believe it. Well, I say never. Anything can happen anywhere. Anything. And just because you live in a nice area and you say you have nice neighbors, well, that doesn't make it so, as we know. Nice people kill. Nice people kill. And many have, and they go, I didn't even believe that he was that type of person. He seemed so nice and genuine and honest and truthful. I would never, ever, ever think he could be capable of anything like that. Now, just remember that. Just remember that you do not know your neighbors. In fact, you might have a nice neighbor now, but you don't know the background on them. They might have turned bad into good, but they murdered somebody years ago. Right? But they would never dream of doing it again. You know, there's those kind of people. There's people that's like that guy that murdered his whole family, you know, years ago. Back in the 60s, I don't know when it was. You know, that church guy. And he laid out his wife, his mother-in-law, and his kids. Laid them down. Left the house and shut the door. And disappeared. And started a new life. And years later, they caught up with this man. And he had made a new life for himself. Nobody knew about nothing. And his wife couldn't understand that he would be capable of doing anything like that. Well, he was, and he did it. And this is what I'm saying. Just don't be fooled, and always have an open mind, and always don't close it to say they would never do it. That's all I'm saying. Because anybody's capable of doing anything at one given moment. It might have been a spur of the moment. It might have been just took a second and it's all too late. That's how some things happen. So never say never. What I like to know is, her phone was found, but was it plugged in charging? How long does her phone keep a charge for? Like, how many hours, how many days before it goes dead? And of course, they're going to know the last time she used it, the last text, the last phone call that she answered or made. received. But I'd like to know if her phone was dead, or how much charge it had on it. Because that might give them an idea how long she was gone. Is she the type of person that uses her phone quite a bit? Is she the type of person that always takes her phone wherever she goes, all the time? All the time. Because if this is the case, she probably didn't have enough time to get hold of her phone. Did somebody come and knock at her door and say, hey, I'm working next door, I'm a construction guy, or something like that, just for instance. And as soon as she opened the door, boom. But we don't know if it's that guy or not, if it's, what's going on there. But we'll have to see. So just to give you that little update, and the case is sealed. The sheriff did say that it's not unusual in these types of investigations to start at the home and extend outwards in an effort to seek clues surrounding the disappearance. The Morphew residence is just one of many areas of focus as part of this open investigation at this time. Officials with the sheriff's office stated, as of Wednesday, May the 20th, investigators had received approximately 200 tips reported to the designated phone line for their information on Suzanne's disappearance. But they keep on about, Mother's Day, she disappeared, Mother's Day. This case is going to be known as Mother's Day disappearance of Suzanne Morphew. And because the search started that day. And they do say, the husband was in Denver, and the family also say this too. But also, whoever he was with, the fire department crew, also, I assume, are stating that to be a fact. But this bike ride, we might find out that's a whole different scenario, and might never have happened that afternoon. Could have happened very early on in the morning. So nobody knows unless they have video of anything. They can't narrow down the time. Now, if the story about the next door neighbor was true, they surely could narrow down the time, but now it's not true. They cannot narrow down the time. They need proof. They need to have somebody been talking to her on the phone. That would be proof that could narrow the time when she was alive, last seen, at least. But they're waiting. They've got 200 tips, so who knows what those tips are. And let's hope they are tips that put the puzzle together. Every little bit of information will help. It doesn't matter how small. I can't empathize that enough. You just don't realize how a little tiny bit of information will solve a case. And it's done it lots of times. It's done it. And some people never came forward with this tiny little bit of information for years later because they thought nothing up. They didn't think it was nothing. But it solved the case. You want to be a hero? You see something? Say something. Make that call. And I have the phone number going across my screen. If there's anybody out there that lives in that area and knows people, just ask around. Ask around, because now the sheriff department are not talking. And reporters might not be able to get a hold of anything anymore right now. And maybe they shouldn't. Do you know what I mean? But there are people out there that live in that area and riding around the area. Just to go investigate. Just to go to look. See what's going on. And they've seen a lot. They've seen a lot. But, watch out going around those areas, though, because people are watching. Oh, and there's another piece of information. I don't know who it was, a neighbor or something, or he might have been just a person that drives by. He said about it looked odd to him. I think it was a car or a vehicle hanging around, which didn't look right. It looked out of place. And maybe it was there too many times for him. Because if somebody is coming along that road and they want to pull over, because there's areas where you can just pull over to maybe have a break or something, or just look at some scenery and get off the road. It might be just as innocent as that. But if you see them all the time, odd times, then it becomes odd. But he said he didn't really feel it was odd at the time, but now he does, because of the circumstances. So I don't know what this guy's talking about, but he could be onto something. Because now he's got a description. I'm not sure if it's a car or a truck, a car and a truck, He didn't say truck, I don't think. I think he said car, but it could be a truck. And then when they had that news report, when the chief spoke and gave a conference, there was a white truck, and that just sat there for a minute, just sat there, watching. And I was thinking to myself, he's staying there a bit long, isn't he? Is he watching what's going on? Has he come back to see what's going on? Is he the one? Because it stayed there too long. And it was a white truck. Or silver looking truck. I can't tell in the background because it's blurred off a little bit. But it was kind of white. And it was a truck. So you never know. It gets you thinking. Why is he stopped when all the other cars keep going? He stopped for a reason. It could be because he's just nosy. He just wanted to get himself on TV. Or he was there for a purpose. Because a lot of people that do stuff, they come back and they are around you. They come back and they get in the mix of you, like news conferences. They start popping up everywhere, the search parties. And then they start, like some go to the funerals, they start showing up everywhere. So keep an eye out for that, guys, because that happens too. When they say anything suspicious that didn't look right, report it. Well, that looked a bit suspicious to me. But that's because we're kind of watching out, like anything that catches our eye. It could be anything that catches your eye. Do you know what I mean? But Is that worth telling them? I don't know. I mean, you couldn't tell really who was in it, but you never know. That could be the clue they're looking for. You never know. So that's why when there's a press conference outside and something like this happens, look at the traffic, look who's around you, take some pictures of the public that's around you. That's what you need to do, because there might be somebody lurking. Don't focus on the conference. Take photos that are around you too. Cars and people. Just for future reference. That's it. And see if they pop up everywhere you go. I mean, I'm not a detective, but it kind of makes you feel that's what you gotta do. That's what you gotta do. That's where you get your clues from. That's when a case can be solved. That's when it can move forward a little bit further. So other than that, guys, everything's more or less the same. They still got the GoFundMe up, and that is nothing to do with the reward money. That is, like they say, for the searchers. For when they get searchers in and they have to live somewhere, you know, like a hotel, they have to stay for a couple of days. They bring their animals. It's to feed the animals and give them shelter and things like that. That's what the GoFundMe is. But you know, these people do it for free. But money does help go into a fund to help future searchers that are needed in another case, maybe such as this. You know, you got the dive team. It's all, these teams are put together and they cost money. They do cost money no matter how you say it. You got the equipment, you got this, you got their time. And so a lot of people volunteer their time. But it does cost money. And they have to do it a professional way, and they have to be specially trained to do this. So guys, just think of it that way. That's just how it is. It's a donation to give to that kind of fund, which was a very good idea, and maybe more people should do that. Because the reason why a lot of other people don't get help is because they don't have any money. They don't have any money to get the searches out. And they're only going to come out when called out, or maybe 1 day or 2 days, and that'll be it. But if you got money, money helps. Money talks. Because if you got money to bring them into town and then put them up at a hotel for a few nights, they'd be happy. They'd be happy to do that. So it is always good to think of a GoFundMe like that. It's legit. It's legit. It's not a scam. And if you go onto their web page, Facebook, find Suzanne morphew. Any information's on there that they can give. If you have a tip, don't put it on there. Go straight to the police. And there is a number on their Facebook. It says call. Press on there and the number comes up. The number comes up and you will be able to get that number. Call the tip line if you have any information. You do not need to go to anybody's Facebook and give information out for the whole wide world to see, because people will run with it within seconds. You need to call that tip line. go do it now if you have any information, no matter how small. Don't feel like you'll feel like an idiot or something, or feel stupid because you feel it's nothing. But to the FBI, to the trained eye, it could be the answer they have been waiting for. So guys, thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like and share. If you like, give me the thumbs up, thumbs down. It doesn't matter. And press that notification bell and sub to my channel. And thank you guys, and I'll see you in the comments.